If you want to be seen as powerful, respected, and worth listening to, you need to master your words. I've spent 20 years studying the exact words that make people say yes, and I've learned 5 specific skills that give you an unfair advantage in life. First, we're starting with catchy phrasing. So a 2012 Cornell study analyzed thousands of movie scripts and cross-referenced them with IMDb's most memorable quotes. And they controlled for everything: actor, delivery, context, length, even the movie's success. What they found is that the memorable lines share 4 mechanical traits you can actually engineer into anything you write. So look at "You Had Me at Hello" from Jerry Maguire.
You had me at hello.
Trait 1 here is familiar syntax. Structures like "you had me at X" that sound normal. Trait 2 is distinctive word choice. Hello in that slot is unexpected. You'd expect your smile or your pitch or something. Trait 3 is portability. You can lift this line and use it anywhere. Trait 4 is compression. 5 words, as in no fluff, no conjunctions. Or take something like "you can't handle the truth." Same 4 traits: familiar syntax, you can't X the Y, but handle paired with truth creates a little tension there. Completely portable as well. This works in any context. Maximum compression, no extra words. Now, the same research found these traits in the best ad slogans. So McDonald's "I'm loving it" follows these exact rules. This works because our brain stores familiar patterns really effortlessly, but it flags distinctive content. So familiar syntax plus 1 surprising word creates that flag. The brain recognizes the pattern, it gets jolted, and it tags it important. Now, that's not persuasion, that's neuroscience just doing your job for you. This is how you trap someone into remembering you. Meme-worthy lines that stick long after you leave. So test every important line you write with this question: could this work as a meme? Could you put it on a t-shirt? If not, you're probably using too many words, or the syntax is just a little too complicated. So strip it down, make one word distinctive, remove every conjunction and or but, then add significant white space after it, so the line sticks the landing. Next up is skill 2, order of revelation. My job is to get people to say yes, and over the years, I've learned that the order in which I say things can change my results. For example, I could tell a client, "This strategy increased conversions by 27%. It's controversial and it doesn't follow best practices." Or I could say, "This strategy breaks best practices and increased conversions by 27%. Now, which one is better? It depends. Version A anchors with "we win." You lead with the result, then you mention it's different. Version B anchors with "we take risks." You lead with breaking rules, then you show the payoff. So if you're pitching a conservative bank, version A works better because they want to win, but they hate risk. If you're pitching to a fast growth tech company, version B works better because they're all about innovation. The order of revelation is so powerful that I've seen the same case study convert wildly differently just by rearranging when certain facts appear. This is something that's called schema activation. Now, humans are meaning-making machines. When you emphasize information first, our brains automatically file it as the framework for everything that follows. You are literally programming how people will interpret your next sentence before you even say it. So what's at risk if you get this wrong? Well, you lose control of the narrative. The prospect decides what matters, not you. They might focus on price when you need them to focus on value. They might hear risk when you need them to hear opportunity. So before you write anything important, ask yourself, what do I want the audience to assume is true before they learn this next thing? Now that question will change everything. If you're about to share pricing, what belief do they need to hold first? If you're proposing a risky idea, what trust do you need to establish before revealing that risk? Sequence your information strategically, not chronologically. Skill number 3 has closed me multiple 6-figure deals, and it is this: stealing thunder. Alex Hormozi makes his content accessible to everyone, but he is meticulous about who he works with, and that's at least part of the secret to his success. On his videos, he shares simple strategies about starting a business, building your brand, crushing your goals, but then he drops, "If you're not willing to work 80 hours a week, this isn't for you." He just disqualified half his audience, and now the other half leans in harder. Now, this is called preemptive disqualification. It's where you volunteer when or if you're not the right choice before the other person brings it up. And doing this has repeatedly closed me so many deals. Now, I work with large organizations now, and on that first call, I tell them, if your organization is addicted to brainstorming messages, if you have like a dozen people iterating in copy docs and giving feedback everywhere, my approach is not going to be a good fit for you. And I deliver it in a non-meaningful way. It's just honest, but it makes all the difference. I mean, I'm not in sales mode anymore at that point. I'm in expert mode. And experts tell you the truth even when it costs them the deal. Now, research backs this. There's something called the blemishing effect, where admitting a small negative while your overall competence is actually really high increases your likability and persuasion. Now, another study on proactive disclosure also found that volunteering bad news improves perceptions of honesty and trustworthiness. And most people think trust comes from proving competence alone. Nope. Trust comes from honest judgment about whether you're the right fit and then sharing that judgment openly. This creates curiosity about your expert approach, and curiosity from a prospect who now trusts your judgment is what unlocks that wallet. They're not defending their budget anymore. They're moving around money to bring you in. So identify when you're not the right fit, then state it clearly. Look, if you want fast copy you can deploy this afternoon, this isn't for you. Or our approach works best for teams spending $100,000 or more on ads every month. Are you there? If not, solve that first. This positions you as someone who cares about doing a great job, not just closing deals. Skill number 4 changes everything about how people hear you. It's anti-hype. When most people want to write a good hook, they go with something like, this one decision completely changed how we approach marketing forever. While experts write something that's more like this. It wasn't dramatic, we just stopped doing what everyone else was doing. Now here's why that way works better. Research on language expectancy theory shows that when you violate expected patterns strategically, it shifts message reception. Studies on perceived credibility confirm that nuanced, authentic communication wins over like overt emotional appeals because the brain doesn't get defensive when things are understated, it just kind of leans in. Plus, hype lowers your status in professional environments. When you're trying to persuade senior leaders, run a high-trust sales organization, or build your reputation as a thought leader, hype can read as desperation. Anti-hype reads as confidence. You don't need to oversell because you're not worried about getting the yes. Now this removes performative emotion and resets attention. The language is deflated, but the meaning itself has weight. It wasn't dramatic, still tells a story, it just refuses to inflate it. So when you're writing something important, find the moment where you're tempted to hype it up and then do the opposite. So replace what happened next shocked us with nothing surprising happened. That was the problem. The confidence, maturity, credibility you gain will convert better than the hype ever could. Now the last one is what we call bucket brigades. So back in like the 1700s, if there was a fire on one side of town and water on the other, people would line up and pass buckets of water hand to hand down this like human chain. That's a bucket brigade. Each person moves the bucket along until it reaches the fire. Good writing is just like this. You have to move the reader from one point to the next, never letting them drop off. And you do that with what's called bucket brigades, short phrases, usually 1 to 5 words, that create this micro curiosity that gets paid off in the very next line. So phrases like, here's the thing, fact is, let me explain, here's why. They're conversational, slightly incomplete, and they exploit how your brain craves closure. When you read, here's the thing, your brain immediately needs to know what the thing is. That little gap creates forward momentum. You can't stop mid-bucket brigade without feeling a little incomplete. That's why the best writers use these constantly in sales pages, in long emails, and case studies. They're especially useful when you're about to transition from something concrete to its meaning, or when you need to help someone through like a belief shift. For example, most marketing consultants quit too soon. Here's why. That here's why is doing heavy cognitive lifting, promising an answer and maintaining momentum. Now, here is why bucket brigades work so well. Your brain has really limited processing capacity. When you hit a wall, of dense text, cognitive load just spikes and attention drops. Now, bucket brigades are really just cognitive breaks that reset pacing without losing the thread. They signal, breathe, then keep going, instead of, oh, this is exhausting, but I have to keep reading. But you should only use them when they're earning their place. If you can edit the bucket brigade out and the writing improves, well, it wasn't doing its job. Use them after dense ideas to give the reader a break, or when asking for a shift in what they believe. So when you're writing something longer than a few paragraphs, scan for moments where the reader might drop off, then add a bucket brigade before the next important point. Here's what matters. This is the thing. Let me explain. But don't overdo it. Use them strategically to maintain flow, not randomly fill space. Now that you know how mastering your words gives you power and leverage, the real question is how those skills actually turn into money for you. So watch this next video to see how I went from a broke janitor in my high school making nothing to a millionaire copywriter, and the 7 lessons that made it possible.